Welcome back to Let the Quran Speak. Now we answer questions we've received from you, our viewers. If you have a question yourself, please visit our website, www.quranspeaks.com. Okay, Brother Shabir, the first question is about taking mortgages, and a related question is life insurance. So perhaps you can deal with those questions separately. So the question is, are these allowed in our current circumstances?
Mm-hmm. The Fiqh Council of North America has published an article on their website showing that life insurance has been much misunderstood in classical Islamic jurisprudence. Many earlier scholars had said when they heard about life insurance that this is prohibited because they thought that somehow this means insuring a person against death. And since it is so central in the Muslim thinking that God is the controller of all affairs, especially when it comes to life and death, they thought, well, this seems like an affront to God. How can you be insuring against death? But of course, life insurance is not an assurance against death. It is only a provision for your beneficiaries when you pass away, so that if you are providing for your family when you were alive and now you're no longer around, your family does have some security, a means of income and some provision.
So one would be allowed to take out life insurance then?
Yes. Another aspect of insurance that some had found objectionable is that they saw it as a sort of gambling, in that you're investing in the system and it may pay back or may not pay back. But on the other hand, it doesn't need to be compared to gambling. It can be compared to a kind of shared system where people, in some localities, people may put money in a box and say, well, whoever falls into some difficulty will be rescued from this box and from the contents of the box. And then everyone agrees. We're putting money in, not all of us will benefit from it. Who needs it will have it. And if nobody needs it, well, then it just waits there for the next accident to happen. So this is a sort of insurance system that is done at a very local level among just a simple group of people, let's say in a village somewhere. There's no harm in this. It's done for the public good. It's nice to say that we don't need any insurance. If somebody suffers a heavy loss, the community will pitch in and the person will be looked after very well. But first of all, there is a problem with dignity of the individual in such a case, and most of us don't want to be in that situation, helplessly waiting for everyone to pitch in and help us. If there's another way, well, let's create it. And second, sometimes the community does not pitch in, or as much as we would expect them to do so. And the loss could be very severe. So in such situations, it becomes essential to have some insurance. So that if, for example, your place of worship burns down, well then, if it's not covered, then the whole community may be at a loss for where they're going to pray by the time they collect the money to rebuild their place of worship. So the places of worship, Muslim institutions then usually have insurance because it's proven to be so essential.
The next question is about mortgage, and the person is asking about mortgage in light of Sharia-compliant financing or Islamic loans. And the individual is saying, well, these loans also include some sort of hidden interest. So what's the advantage to these loans then?
The main advantage seems to be on a technical point of view, or from a point of view of the technicalities. If two persons are getting into a transaction where they're discussing interest, well, then they're already talking in terms of something that is forbidden, and they're agreeing to do something forbidden. But if people are doing something in which they're using terminology that is not mentioned as prohibited terminology in the Book of God, well, then they feel safer. But what we need to do is...
But are they deceiving themselves?
Well, I think this is important too, to look at what the essence of things. So there is a fine line between charging interest and reasonable trade. And sometimes the line is blurred, so maybe it's not such a sharp distinction. Because if it's known in classical Islamic law that somebody can buy something on credit and pay a higher price than if he were to pay cash at the moment. So a seller can reasonably have a cash price and a credit price. In this case, both prices are known and the buyer knows what he is getting into. Well, many of the loans nowadays are of this nature in that although there is an interest charge, The interest charge is in fact known, it's stated up front, required by law to be stated up front, and it's usually stated up front, and the buyer knows what he is getting into, and he knows the obligation of returning this loan, what it's going to cost him in the end. So the difficulties that many saw in these transactions are being reduced, and first by the lowering of the interest rate, and second by the upfront nature of the transaction. It then starts to resemble the act of the seller having two different prices, one for cash and one for credit. On the whole, of course, interest has this negative feature in it, in that it usually feeds into the rich coffers, and it takes from the hard-earned money of the poor, and this is why interest is forbidden in the Quran.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your time, Brother Shabir.
You're welcome.
That's all the time we have. For updates and additional information, please visit our website, www.quranspeaks.com, and write to us, because your comments and questions help guide the show. I'm Safiya Ali. For all of us here at Let the Quran Speak, thank you for watching. I'll see you next week.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allah